the one she can cry on, you're going to next thing find yourself accidentally in her bed.
Teaching.
I'm trying to help him. I'm trying to give him some grace. You keep being the only shoulder she can cry on. Yeah. You're going to be the only shoulder in her bed. Then you're walking around looking crazy. Wasted your marriage because you were the shoulder. Maturity.
Needed a good teacher.
Trust. Trust is the willingness to risk it all on the word of another. Trust. The willingness to risk it all on the word of another. Pastor, how did that tie into marriage? Well, thank you for asking me. Because when you said I did, what I did too was that I'm giving you my life for the rest of my life.
That's good.
Yeah, you got it. So now when you say we got to go to Concord,
deal with it, sir.
when you say we're going to uproot it all,
We going.
not I'm going and you come behind me.
Yeah.
Let me go back to First Lady. The First Lady was like, well, listen, why don't you go ahead? I'll finish off this year. And I'll catch you next school year. The devil is a liar. We're going. And I'm going to go a step further, Deacon Foster. The only reason it was confirmed is because you heard apostles say the same thing. I was getting a lot of fight at home. But one day, the man of God was in church. He said, I hear God telling your daughter, y'all going to Concord. Not your husband and you later. I said, boy, you own it today. I heard it. Punch him. I said, man, you own it, though. Then, then the tears flew.
We give God praise.
Then all of a sudden, there was a word from the Lord.
Come on, sir.
Been a word the last 5 months from your husband. So, but the willingness to be it all on God. Well, God, this is what you told my husband. You sure this for me? If he told your husband, it's for you too. Well, how come God ain't tell me? You need to be thankful. That means your house must be in order.
That's next level.
Because if God can talk to the man of God, and he's saying, I ain't got to come tell you nothing. Because I told you, hey. And since your house is in order,
It's in order.
trust the head. Be willing to risk it all on the word of Wales. My God, I'm giving it all. I'm gone. Because Wales said it's time.
Out of here.
Help me today. I'm gone because Black said it's time.
Amen. That's it.
And God says that's a sign of maturity. That's why when you can trust, catch this business, a man on that level, it should be simplistic to trust God on that level.
Teach it again. Yes, sir.
I mean, it should be second nature.
Yeah.
Whatever God says, well, that must be it. Well, I don't know. No, throw the I don't knows away. Maturity says, if it came from God, we preached it on Sunday, if I'm sure of the source,
Yes, sir.
then I'm good. Whatever you say, Lord, let's do it. And you know what? That's really, Shale, and then God help me all the time, but that's really the best way to live your life. When you live to the point that you say, God, whatever you say I'm going to do, man, it's so much freedom in that.
Peace.
It's peace. That's one of my last points, Mr. Black. It's peace. Because now it's no longer on you.
Covered.
Wow.
You're covered.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
It's on the God that told you to do it.
Yes, that's right.
All right, so you got to be willing. The willingness to risk all at the word of another. And that's what we saw with Abraham offering Isaac. That's what we're trying to get at with these marriages. I got on left field. But that's what we're trying to get at with that when God has called the husband to love his wife as Christ loved the church, called the wife to submit to her husband in all things. When that thing works the way it's supposed to work, marriage is the ultimate proof of trust. That we don't get taken out. We don't have, see, this is why Shanita went there. We don't have days of not talking to each other.
That's good.
When I'm in a trust relationship, I can't go a whole day without talking to you. When I'm in a trust relationship, that trust speaks of a dependence.
Oh, that's the word.
So I can't go a whole day without us talking because I'm dependent on your voice.
Wow.
I need to hear you. Well, I don't really like you. That's good, but I needed to hear you today because I was dependent on hearing your voice. That's what trust looks like. Trust is not staying out all time of the night and coming home when you want to come home. That's not trust. There has to be some communication. I got to be talking to somebody. The Lord won't have me if I won't. There has to be some communication. We go back to First Lady. I deal with her all the time. Sister Shell, I said, First Lady, don't be out here. You got off work at 4 o'clock and it's 7 and I ain't heard from you. Don't do that. Wow. This is why I'm doing ministry. You ain't doing that much ministry. Your first ministry was to call your husband and say, I'm getting ready to be doing ministry for the next 3 hours, but I'm on my way. And then you got weird people like Kiana that if she ain't heard from her mama in 30 minutes after she got off, she calling the police. Now Kiana's blowing my phone up. Have you talked to mama? I haven't. She's all right though. Well, what if she's in a ditch somewhere? How do you even know?
Oh, you did find my own phone.
God is with her. He got her.
God is with her.
If I can't get her, you can't get her, God got her. Come to find out, First Lady was sitting in front of Kiana's house. And you know what makes me mad about that? It's because the genius that caused the alarm didn't get her lazy hips up. Opening the door would have given her the answer. So, but I tell her, First Lady, you got a responsibility. I need to know what you're doing. Trying to talk to these ladies, man. Your husband needs to know what you're doing.
That's right.
This man know you got a schedule. He know what time you're supposed to be off work. He ain't heard from you. He ain't seen you. That's a problem. Hello, lights.
That's right.
That's a problem. The most embarrassing thing a man can ever say is he don't know where his wife is.
That's good. Big teacher.
That ought to embarrass you as a man. Because it embarrassed me when I have to say, I don't know where she is. I'm calling Deacon as well. Deacon, well, First Lady still with you? No, she left about an hour ago, Pastor. Okay. Then you got a wife like mine that'll lose her phone, that, you know, glass is still at work, so I don't know what's going on with the driving condition. I'm trying to make sure she's straight. Phone ain't charged. Phone ain't charged.
My God.
You got 90 chargers. You just left a place where you could have charged your phone for 3-5 hours. But your phone dead. Every time I call, I hear it, I'm sorry I can't come to the phone. What are we doing here? We gotta communicate if we're gonna have a trust relationship. I need to know what's going on. And the same thing with us, brothers.
That's right.
They didn't know what's going on with us.
That's right.
Yes.
We can't be in South Carolina when we supposed to have been in North Carolina.
How about that?
And she don't know.
Amen.
Well, had to show some houses.
It's all right.
Here we get a fix. You know, I'm trying to make some money for us. My God. My God. Tell that woman where you are.
Charge your phone.
Charge your phone, black. So I'm leaving church after this. God, see, I'm not leaving.
It's all right. Go ahead.
Mom, I'm leaving church. This is about 3 weeks ago. This is about 3 maybe a month ago. I'm leaving church. Now, you know, we got the men, these great men, Mama, that God is raising up, you know, to try to look out for the pastor, and I appreciate that. I love them all. And so, you know, I'm going home now because I believe in order. I feel like, and this, I can't teach what I'm teaching if I don't practice it. I feel like my wife should know what I'm doing. So we got out of church. She had driven separately that night, so she had already gone home, and I was late, was late talking back to some of the people. So I got in the car. I normally try to go get something to eat, so I was going to get something to eat, but the spot I normally go to was closed. So I'm calling my wife to let her know that I'm not going to be home in the normal time because I'm going somewhere else to get something to eat. Well, I called literally 10 times. No rings. Here we go. So I said, let me call one of my men. Because certainly this brother lives not too far. If anything, he can ride past the house and let her know I'm going to be a little late. So I called the unnamed Minister Black, who at the time had 2 phones. I called, first one dead. I said, my God, man. Called the other one, dead. I said, well, God, what if I needed some help? Yeah, that don't mean nothing to nobody got no charge. So I said, man, there got to be something. I said, let me call Deacon Wells. Called Deacon Wells. He answered the phone. It was about 7 rings though, but he did get the phone. Pastor, what you got? What you got, Pastor? What you got? I said, no. I said, man, look, I'm just trying to let somebody know I'm good at making stop. First lady phone off. I know she get weird if I ain't home at a certain, point. So, in case she can get her or somebody get her. I tried to hit Black in case he needed to just stop past other number. I said, Black phone always dead. So, both of them always dead. So, well, so Pastor, I got you. He said, look, I'm going to get something to eat, but I'm good. If you're good, if you need anything, let me know. I got you. So, the point of that was, when I First Lady finally got a charge on her phone, she had the nerve, Mama, to have somewhat of a why you ain't home yet tone. And I said, this right here is an N word. Pray for me.
Yes, sir. Bless him.
You know what I'm saying? I just don't really get how you can call me with this tone when I for 10 times tried to call you and I left you a voicemail telling me what I was doing.
Yeah.
Oh, I ain't checking. Check the message first before you give me this tone.
Check the message.
I'm helping somebody.
You're helping all of us.
Hallelujah. All right, so trust. First day you big girl, you can take all this. Amen. Trust. Let the Black have some help sometimes. Hallelujah. Trust. So when I have trust, first I told you we have to have maturity. There has to be maturity. There has to be the willingness to risk all on the word of another. Also with trust, there then has to be stability. Okay, there has to be stability, and stability means that I'm unmoved by what I see. Okay, having trust is stability, being unmoved by what you see. Now, this is where, and I'm gonna spend probably 10 minutes here before we shut down, and I'll just get the rest next week. But this is where I really want to help us to really get some understanding. We're living in a time right now where the world really is crazy. Okay, it's nuts. Everything is going on. Anything out of order is being. We're hearing all things. In Matthew 24, it talks about signs of the time, that there would be earthquakes and famines, there would be wars and rumors of war, there would be all these things, and the things that we're seeing right now. But the scripture says the end is still not yet. Right. So even though we're seeing a lot of signs connected to the end times, the end still has not yet come. So what we've got to understand is when there is an increase in evil, there also, catch this, will be an increase in phoniness.
Good teaching.
Okay, now Jesus said, Matthew 24, these words in red, he says, in that time, Deaconess Foster, they're going to arise false prophets and false Christs, saying that they're sent from God and they're saying that they got the word of God in their mouth. God says, for me to tell us tonight, he says, now, when we are aware that the condition of the world has worsened, we also have to prepare for the increase in the false prophet. Okay, now the good news, this is not a pat on my back, this is a pat on God's back. The good news is you are in a prophetic house. You are in a house where the authentic voice of God is being spoken as he gives utterance. Okay, now because you've been afforded that exposure, God is looking for you. And let me preface this before I say what I'm going to say, because I don't want nobody to miss it. I'm not saying that we the only church that's got prophecy working. I'm not saying we the only church that God is blessing. I'm not saying that God is not still blessing televangelists. I'm not saying that God is not still blessing prophets you might see on TV. I'm not saying any of that. I am saying everybody you see on TV ain't real.
That's right.
Yeah.
But what God has given us is the ability to see what the flow of his spirit looks like. Yeah. So what we have to be sure we're stable in, Brother Evans, is that we don't find ourselves in search of all of these signs and prophetic words. Teach tonight, kids. We got to make sure that we're not on the train and I got to go to the prophets conference next month because they're supposed to be teaching me how to prophesy there. We got to be on this kick that says, God, I believe the measure I need in my life can be fulfilled in your house.
Yes. Yes.
Good.
I'm not saying that you should never go hear a guest preacher. I'm not saying you should never go and go to a revival. I'm not saying you can't do that. Do whatever the Lord leads you to do. What I'm telling you to do is when you go, make sure that you are aware. Don't let everybody, specifically in this season, lay hands on you.
That's right. Amen.
Because he says, Sister Kenesha, there are going to be many false prophets that will arise in times like this.
Yes.
This is the time, Sister Keesha, that the false prophet is going to have his best year.
Wow.
Because this is the time where he can suck the money out of the people because they're so desperate to hear from God.
That's right. Good teaching.
And if you can come to your church and let your pastor pray for you for free,
That's good, sir.
and it actually be God.
Yeah.
Why would I be so fickle
Word.
to be in search for something greater?
Right.
It wouldn't be greater because it's the same God. Okay. Let's look at this. Let me show you Matthew 24. I got to give you some more scripture. I got to show you Matthew 24. Then I got to go to 1 John 4, and I'm gonna shut down on that, and then I'll pick the rest of this up next week. Matthew 24. Let's just look. I'm gonna start at verse number 1. Matthew chapter 24. I'm gonna read probably through verse 12, then pick up a couple of things before we shut down. Matthew 24 and 1. The Bible says, and Jesus went out and departed from the temple. His disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. I hope y'all heard that. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So just because the election worked out the way it did, our president is who he is, we hear about North Korea, we hear about these earthquakes, we hear about these hurricanes, we hear about tornadoes, we hear about all this. He says, don't even be troubled because it ain't even over yet.
Right.
He said, but please understand, verse 5, Mama, he said, you got to realize that when this stuff comes, there's going to be an increase in the false prophet. Everybody going to be saying, I heard from the Lord. And only 3% of them telling you the truth. For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines, pestilences, earthquakes in divers places. All these things are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted. They shall kill you. You shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. You shall be offended. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise and deceive many. It's clear. And because sin shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. 13 says, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So let's jump over to verse 24. Same chapter, 24. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, don't go. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even to the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. So we identify that Jesus clearly says, turn to 1 John chapter 4, while I'm talking this point right here. We see Jesus clearly says, 1 John chapter 4, he clearly says that there will be those who will be gifted, they will be able to speak, and things will happen. But don't be fooled by the signs. Don't be fooled by the wonders. Don't be fooled saying, oh, this man is it. I got to follow him because my pastor's off now. And no, you're missing it. He says that he will allow these false prophets to come and destroy lives. It's a story in 2 Chronicles where Jehoshaphat, everybody talks about 2 Chronicles 20:20. I'm still going to 1 John 4. But a lot of people talk about 2 Chronicles 20:20. We believe the prophets so should be prosperous, and leave the Lord, you'll be established, these great things. But in that same context, and I believe it's in chapter 19, the Bible says that God allowed a lying spirit to come from his presence that deceived the kings of Israel. The lying spirit came from the presence of God. So what does that mean? That means that he came with power, but he was covered in sin. He came with the ability to speak what God was saying, but he shifted it to be what he was saying as it was from God. So God will allow the lying spirit to rise up. That's why, mama, we got to be very careful about the folks we connecting with. We got to be very careful about the ministry we sitting under, because these folks, they got a silver tongue. They'll preach to you and prophesy to you, and you'll think it was Jesus himself. He said, don't be deceived by these things. You spot something, you at a church that your pastor ain't know you were going to. We'll talk about that next time. But you at a church, and you out there, and you sitting in there uncovered, and you all participatory. Everything they do, you doing. Say yeah. Jump 3 times. You jump 3 times. Run around and slap your neighbor. You run around and slap your neighbor.
Slap your bed.
So everybody get slapped back. But when I'm enjoying myself with things that is not connected to my covering,
Yes, sir.
I'm now going to bring back something to cause the house to be disrupted, because there's a part of me that I gave to another that belonged to the house. So now I got to go through additional heavy lifting to deal with the aching in the house that touched the accursed thing, that it can be uprooted and dealt with, that we can continue to grow free from falsehood. 1 John chapter 4. He says, beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God. Because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Hereby know ye the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesseth that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is of God. And every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now also is already in the world. Verse 4 where I'll stop. Ye are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Here's the thing, as you close your Bibles, here's the thing that even when these false prophets rise, and this ain't to scare you, it's just to alert you, that you should be able, or you can, by the Spirit, try the Spirit. What does that mean, Pastor? That means I should be able to run. Sister Aria has a phrase she's been using lately. I talked to her a couple weeks ago, and when she said it, I laughed, but it was so, it makes sense. She said, Pastor, before I made that decision, I had to run it through my Jesus filter. And it was funny, but I'm like, yeah, that's actually it, though. That's how I try what's going on. I hear something, you know, somebody say something, somebody preach something. Oh, okay, let me run that through my Jesus filter. You know, is this agreeing with my spirit? Is this in line with the teachings I'm getting from my leader? And if it's a wild hair, then what you need to do is let it stay a wild hair until God allows the leader to come trim it to make it make sense. I'll talk about it before I go. Sister Barton actually came to me a couple weeks, last week, 1 week, said, Pastor, you know, something in this, you know, teaching in Sunday school, and, you know, was getting ready to deal with something that I haven't really heard you deal with yet. So, you know, I just want to let you know that this was what they were saying I should teach, but, you know, I can't do that until I hear you teach on it. I say, and that's the wisdom of God. Because you can't take something and try to interpret it to this house that hadn't come through the filter of the mouth of the leader. Because your interpretation, while it might be good, it may not necessarily be God for us. So that don't mean you're going to be absent of revelation, because you're going to get revelation. But the revelation will always be in the context of Jesus being the Christ. Okay. So trust. I try to teach on. I don't know how good I did on it, but trust. Amen. Go and put your hand together for Jesus.